On today's Tech Help for Churches, the 8 types of Twitter accounts. Hi, and welcome again to another episode of Tech Help for Churches. This is the show where every week I help you use the web and new media, social media, etc. to get the word out about the good news of Jesus Christ to your church and to the community. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and I'm your host, and I'd love for you to join the conversation, ask your questions, etc. You can always do that below the video, whether you're on YouTube or on trinitydigitalmedia.com. Either one is fine. You can drop me a line, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com if you're an email person, or you can hit me up on Twitter. You know, we are talking Twitter, so you might think that I have an account. Yeah, it's Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAlanClif. So, let's talk, shall we, a little bit about the 8 types of Twitter accounts. Now, this may not be an exhaustive list, but it is a list that I came up with when I was writing my book, Tweeting Church. You can see my very snazzy bookmark here if you're watching the video. And so let's talk about those, shall we? The first kind is probably the majority of Twitter users are this. They are what I call random tweeters. Sometimes they'll have profound insights, like if you don't do what you've always dreamed of doing, you've already failed. Pretty profound. The next tweet would be, I'm thinking a ham sandwich for lunch. Okay, that didn't seem to fit with the last one. And I admit part of this is Twitter's fault, because initially their question was, what are you doing? And you would answer that with something as random as, I'm thinking a ham sandwich for lunch. Now, if this is a close friend of yours, you might appreciate the detail. You know, if you're following your spouse and she says, well, in my case, I'm going to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch. That tells me that what she had for lunch, and therefore, since I do most of the cooking, it tells me something about maybe what we should have for supper. So that's helpful to me personally. But if you've never met my wife, first off, it's your loss. She's great. But if you've never met my wife, then you just wouldn't know that. And you wouldn't really care. Especially if the very next thing she said was something deep and profound. It would feel kind of odd. So that's the first kind of Twitter account. The second is the link tweeter. Now this is someone who, as they're surfing the web, as they're noticing different things, what they do is they come up with different links that they find valuable in different areas, and they share them. Now, it could be the case that this is very valuable to you, but there is also a downside of this kind of account, and that is it's possible that that person will find like 20 really great links one day, and then nothing for like 2 weeks. That's kind of the nature of the web, is that sometimes you find great stuff and sometimes you find nothing. And it's not that you find nothing, it's just you don't find anything that you want to share. It's just not good enough, right? So for this kind of person, I really recommend using something like Buffer or Twuffer or one of these apps that lets you tweet your links later, so that you can spread them out over time and really share them instead of like oh, someone has gone crazy on Twitter, followed by nothing for a month, you can spread them out just for consistency's sake. Now, you don't want to do that if it's time sensitive. You know, if you're someone and you tweet out everything that is happening on Saturday, you don't want some of those links going out on Sunday or even the next week. So keep that in mind. But if it's evergreen content, stuff that'll be just as good next week as it is today, by all means, spread that out. There's often another kind called the Pundit tweeter. Now, a pundit is someone who has an agenda. And I've found that these kinds of accounts, if you agree with them or if you like to argue, either way, can be very entertaining. But sometimes they can get a little one-sided. And maybe I've mellowed in my old age. I used to be very political and I'm very angry at the other side of the aisle. But in time I've realized that most of the time the people that disagree with me think they're doing the right thing. They're not trying to do what people I agree with accuse them of. They might just be not approaching it in a way that makes sense to me. So I tend not to follow these accounts because either, well, when I find that I have followed them, if I have, I really like to unfollow them just because it feels like a one-trick pony, like, those blank in Congress are real idiots. And you can just fill in the party. It doesn't matter because both sides say the same stuff. If only they would agree with me on thus and so. You know, it's basically the same tweet. You just remove party you disagree with and put in the other one, and it could be tweeted by the other person. And most of the time, they're really not all that illuminating. They're just annoying. So that's the challenge. If you want to have one of those accounts, God bless you. That's your right. I just want you to think, am I doing something that everyone else is doing with their Twitter accounts? Or am I coming up with just something that really, really matters? And I want you to try and come up with stuff that really, really matters, that really adds value, that really approaches it from a unique perspective, not, I hate the other guy. First off, that's not very Christian to hate somebody. Secondly, it really doesn't help. So try and figure out ways to help, right? So think about that. Be solution focused. Next, there's the business tweeter. Now, this can be someone who maybe errs on the side of spam. They're always talking about a sale in their business. They're always talking about hawking their wares. They're always doing these sorts of things. And that's not very good. But there's also another species of this kind of tweeter. And that is someone who is part of a corporate account and they're not allowed to be personal. I really don't like this kind of account. I think that business nowadays needs to be personal. And so when I interact with someone who is just not, it really gets on my nerves. So be careful if you have this kind of account because you want to be engaging. You want this not to just be a broadcast. You want this not to be, hey, I'm spewing the corporate line. If you understand the corporate line, then by all means explain it, but don't say, no, we've just decided that, example from my own life, we're not going to offer free business checking accounts anymore because we think that you should be able to have a minimum balance of $10,000 a day. Oh, sorry, I'm a small business. I don't have that kind of minimum balance. So the corporate line really is annoying. So avoid that if you can. Next, celebrity accounts. Now, there are also a subspecies of these that we'll talk about later. But celebrity accounts can be, if they do it well, really engaging to fans. Think about it. If you're a fan of Shaquille O'Neal and you follow him and you get his humor and he talks about being on a movie set or being on a commercial shoot, that can be really engaging to you. But if it's a celebrity account and it's actually done by someone else, so it's not actually a celebrity account, it's done by their publicist, it really doesn't feel real. It really doesn't feel like it's something engaging. It's more like, oh, I am about to be in a movie. You should check it out. Here is their website. Or, oh, I just really enjoy my new Android Galaxy Note. It is a wonderful phone. Yeah, see, that's no good. But the real thoughts of real people, that's engaging. So if you know someone that's like this, err on that side. I think there are a lot of well-known pastors that err on the side of genuineness, where they talk about who they're interacting with. They talk about ideas that they have. They talk about thoughts to help others. And I think that that's fine. It's the church account that has the name of the pastor and it's not actually tweeted by the pastor that I think is potentially an issue. Now we have fake celebrities and fictional characters as another type of account. Now these are either actual celebrities' names, but not really, or people with like fake in front of their names for humor's sake or just for laughs. I want to be absolutely clear. If you are not that person, please make it clear that you're not that person. Add fake in front of the name, add not in front of the name. You know, famous accounts like fake Steve Jobs or C.S. Lewis. By the way, you don't have to add fake C.S. Lewis because C.S. Lewis died the same day that Kennedy was assassinated. So we're pretty sure this isn't him tweeting from beyond the grave, although that would be cool. Pretty sure it's not the case. So I think that it's possible that you can tweet from one of these accounts and really do some fun stuff. There's one that I followed for years called Drunk Hulk. And it was like someone pretending to be the Incredible Hulk, you know, the cartoon superhero character, drunk. Hilarious! Because he's always looking at different stuff from kind of a cavemanish perspective, but also a little drunk, so just hilarious. And I think that that's perfectly okay, but probably no one's life is going to be changed by Drunk Hulk. Although, the C.S. Lewis account, maybe someone's life would be changed as someone is basically tweeting quotes from Mere Christianity or The Great Divorce or The Chronicles of Narnia. Those are fine. Then there's a couple of other kinds of accounts that I want to just briefly touch on. There's the Auto-retweet. So basically this is a bot, and just think of a bot as a piece of software that searches for a specific word and retweets it. So one time I was saying, hey, I'm praying for thus and so, and someone saw that, or there was a bot that saw that and said something like, let me see if I can see this. They just retweeted my prayer, and the name of the account was Praying for You or something like that. I can't even remember. It's been years and years ago. So you can really help people by auto-retweeting their stuff based on keyword, but just keep it in mind because you can be abusive in this too. There was a time when there were accounts that were set up that every time they saw the word iPhone, they would send you a link to one of those "get your free iPhone by filling out these surveys," many of which cost you money to do, kinds of pages. Very annoying. So don't err on that side. Err on the side of being helpful. Finally, there are quote accounts. Now, quote accounts are accounts where basically they send out quotes. I talked earlier about the fake celebrity accounts. The C.S. Lewis would be kind of like this. There are fake Marilyn Monroe accounts where they just do quotes of hers. But there are also accounts that just do inspirational quotes. So it's not specifically from one particular person. They might be leadership quotes or quotes from the Bible. Quotes from the Bible would be a perfectly adequate version. So it's not that you're making commentary on these verses. You're just putting out John 3:16 one day, Jeremiah 29:11 the other day, Genesis 1:1 another day, 1 John 3:16 another day. This is how we know what real love is, and that Christ died for us. That's just so you know. I think that's right. Trust in my memory here. So those are valuable accounts, and there are some fun ways that you can have an account for your church and come up with some unusual ways to use it. So I hope that's helped you. I hope it's given you some ideas on what to do as you go out and change eternity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, thumbs up, and share this video. If you haven't subscribed already, I don't know why, because it's absolutely free, doesn't even require an email address. So you can click on subscribe in YouTube if that's where you're watching this, or you can do it over at trinitydigitalmedia.com/subscribe. Either way is perfectly cool. So I hope that helps you, and I hope it helps you go out and change eternity. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with trinitydigitalmedia.com.